Okay. Now, Himalayas, abode of snow as it is called, is one of the, is one mountain chain with some of the loftiest peaks of the world and mightiest glaciers, my dear friends. Got that what I'm trying to tell you? These are northwest to southeast stretching mountains. This is their direction, my dear friends. Northwest to southeast stretching mountains. Perfect. Their length extends to almost 2,500 kilometers, please. Got that what I'm trying to tell you? Perfect. Having said all these things, now, the origin of the Himalayas. Let us briefly discuss about the origin of the Himalayas. How did the Himalayas form? There are many theories which have been proposed to explain how the Himalayas did form. Among them, what is only important for the exam is two theories, my dear friends. One theory that believes that Himalayas was folded up. Himalayas was the folded up portion of the crust. Himalayas was the folded up portion of the crust in the margins of, listen to every word that I utter. It's very, very important for you, my dear friends. Folded up portion of the crust in the margins of Tethys geosyncline. Folded up portion of the margins of Tethys geosyncline. Now, for heaven's sake, don't keep worrying about what is this Tethys, what is this geosyncline and all that. When I discuss physical geography with you, right now we are discussing India physical. When I discuss physical geography with you, in detail, I'll explain to you what a geosyncline is. Clear? Right now, you only know this much. There is one school of thought which believes Himalayas is that portion of crust which has folded up due to compressive forces. Due to compressive forces in the margins. Okay? In the southern margin, northern margin, Kunlun, Tianshan and all those ranges, guys. Okay? In the southern margins, it is the Himalayas that has been formed by the folding of the crust. Got that, guys, all of it I'm trying to tell you. Perfect? That's one school of thought. Even if you haven't understood it really well, it's absolutely okay. Why? Because you just have to know that much. Whatever understanding you have to gain, you will definitely gain it when you study about the physical geography, please. Clear? Let's not dilute the India physical geography. If we get too much into the physical geography, the India physical geography will not graduate further, my dear friends. Perfect? Now, so whatever you have understood, that's fine. The second theory that explains the formation of Himalayas is the plate tectonics. How does plate tectonics explain the formation of Himalayas? Plate tectonics tells you that the Indo-Australia-New Zealand plate converged. Indo-Australia-New Zealand plate converged with the Eurasian plate due to the compressive forces, and as the Indo-Australia-New Zealand plate converged and submerged, beneath the Eurasian plate, this region developed folds, which is the present day Himalayas. And this is the most authentic theory to explain the formation of Himalayas, my dear friends. Perfect, please. Alright. First theory tells you Himalayas were formed due to the compressive forces. Okay. In the margins of Tethys geosyncline, the crust was folded up. That became Himalayas. Second, plate tectonics. According to the theory of plate tectonics, the convergence of Indo-Australia-New Zealand plate, major plate, with the Eurasian plate and its subsequent submergence led to the folding of the region, which is the present day Himalayas. Got that, guys? I'm trying. It's believed now that Himalayas must have started to get uplifted from Oligocene epoch. This is the time around 30 to 40 million years before present. 30 to 40 million years before present. It is assumed now, with lot of geological evidences, that Himalayas must have started to form. Clear? It was the same time when the first anthropoid ape is also said to have evolved. I'm not talking about the man. The ape which led to formation of man. Got that what I'm trying to tell you. Now guys, Himalayas, my dear friends, is an young-fold mountain. You will be asking me a question. Sir, you say Himalayas started to form 30 to 40 million years before present, and you are also telling us that it is young-fold mountain. It has to be young-fold mountain, my dear friends, because there are many so-called old-fold mountains which have started to form before 600, 700 million years. 600 to 700 million years before present, and they have also been subject to lot of erosion by the rivers and other agents. What only remains of them today is the residue. Get that point, my dear friends? The best example is the Aravallis. We'll be dealing about it later. Don't worry. Got that what I'm trying to tell you. Till here is everything clear, please? I think so. Now, okay. All right. Evidence to demonstrate that Himalayas are still getting uplifted. Himalayas are still in the state of active upliftment. One, if you know somebody who actually lives in the Himalayan region, they would be telling you, Himalaya experience earthquakes very frequently. It experiences earthquakes very frequently, which is a clear evidence that the convergence between the two plates is not complete. Okay? The convergence between the two plates, the Indo-Australia-New Zealand plate and the Eurasian plate, must be still active. And that's why Himalayas experience a lot of earthquakes very often. Tectonically active region clearly points out to the fact that Himalayas must be still getting uplifted. Two, most of the rivers flowing down from the Himalayas are in their youthful stage. The rivers flowing down the Himalayas are in their youthful stage. Now, what do you understand by being youthful? One, they are flowing with very high velocity, point number one. Two, they are engaged in active erosion. They are still eroding. Got that what I'm trying to tell you? Now, one, they are flowing with high velocity. Two, they are still eroding. Three, you will see these terrace-like structures. These terraces-like structures in the Himalayas, which also clearly point out to the fact that Himalayas is still growing. Now, what are these river terraces? I'll simply explain to you very, very briefly, my dear friends. Understand, okay? See, imagine the river was flowing here within this channel. Okay? Now, only if this region gets uplifted, the water will get even more streamlined and the water will start flowing in a lesser channel with lesser width. Getting my point, my dear friends? So, right now, you don't have the river water till here, but you have it only here. Again, if this region gets uplifted, the river water will now start flowing here and it won't be here. Perfect? Now, what has been created? What you call as the river terraces. Perfect? But why were the river terraces formed in first place? River terraces were formed in first place because the region is consistently getting uplifted. If we are able to see river terraces in the Himalayas, what does that mean? Himalayas is getting uplifted continuously. Got that what I'm trying to tell you? Clear? Perfect, my dear friends. So, one important evidence that Himalayas is still uplifting is the frequency of earthquakes in the region. Two, rivers are in youthful stage and the development of the river terraces within the Himalayan region. Three is the evidences from geodesy. What do you understand by geodesy now? Geodesy is mathematical application to geography. Now, many trigonometrical calculations done around Himalayas clearly point out to the fact that the Himalayan mountains has not ceased to get uplifted, which means every year there is an addition of 5 to 10 centimeter to the height of the Himalayas, my dear friends. Perfect? So these are the evidences that demonstrate to us that Himalayas are still getting uplifted. I know you would be thinking, why is sir teaching all these things so much? Why can't he go to what are the different Himalayas? What are the peaks there and all that? I'll most certainly get into there also. But the fact remains, UPSC is changing, my dear friends. There is a lot of emphasis on concepts. And when the emphasis is on concepts, you have to know this thing, that whenever conceptual questions are asked, you should be able to tackle it really well. Perfect? Okay, my dear friends, we'll move on to the next topic. division of Himalayas. Now, how can the Himalayas be divided? Simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. If you are thinking, okay, this is this is greater, this is lesser, you're wrong. That is not what I have named as, I repeat, that is not what I have named as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What should be this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Just imagine for yourself. What should be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I have written there? Let me tell you, my dear friends. There are number of folds, Folds, right? And faults, Faults. Created when a huge fold mountain like Himalayas is formed. Got that point, my dear friends? Now, what do you understand by a fault? Please do understand this. Imagine there is a rock here. There's a rock. And the rock has developed a fracture. For some reason, tensile or compressive forces, the rock has developed a fracture. This fracture in geographical parlance is called a joint. Joint. Please know, most of you would be confused when you read in your NCERT books. When you come across the term joint, joint, you would be thinking, what is it to join and all that? Please, no. Okay. Joint in geography means fracture. Getting my point, my dear friends? Having said that, now, how does this fracture convert into a fault? Along this fracture, if there is appreciable displacement, if along this fracture there is appreciable displacement of rock, you call it as fault. Getting my point, my dear friends? All I told you was as simple as this. See, till the fracture exists and rocks have not moved, it's not a fault. When the rocks move around this fracture due to the compressive or the tensile force, you will call it as fault. Perfect? Very good. Now, what I have shown you here are major faults in the Himalayan region, my dear friends. There are thousands of minor faults also, but these are the major faults, and these are important for your exam, mind you. Now, let's get into the division of the Himalayas quickly. This is the Tibetan plateau, which is not part of Himalayas, but which is the intermontane plateau between the Himalayas on one side and Kunlun, Tian Shan and other ranges towards the north. What did I say? Intermontane plateau, the plateau that is found between the mountains. Getting my point, my dear friends? Very clearly? Good. Now, so, Tibetan plateau, the Trans-Himalayas, okay, the Greater Himalayas, the Lesser Himalayas, and the Shivaliks. the Tibetan Plateau, Trans-Himalayas, Greater Himalayas, Lesser Shivaliks. Perfect? Okay. Now we'll deal one by one. And before dealing with the Himalayas one by one, let us try to know what is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, please. Please note it down very, very carefully. Anyway, it will be there in your notes still. One is the Trans-Himadri fault. Trans-Himadri fault. 2. Indus Sangpo. Indus Sangpo suture zone. Please do understand. See, this is exactly where you have the two is where the Brahmaputra, which is called Sangpo in Tibet, and Indus have cut steep gorges. Got that what I'm trying to tell you. So, Indus Sangpo suture zone. 3 is your main central thrust. Main central thrust. Okay. 4, main boundary fault. You must be understanding this. This is quite simple, guys. See, this is where the loftiest of the peaks are formed. So this is where maximum pressure would have existed. Got that what I'm trying? The compressive force of highest magnitude should have got manifest here, and that's why you have the loftiest of the peaks here. Okay? So main central thrust, main boundary fault, and finally here, the Shivalik frontal fault. Shivalik frontal fault. Trans-Himadri fault, Indus Sangpo suture zone, main central thrust, main boundary fault, and the Shivalik frontal fault. Please have a look at this diagram properly, my dear friends, for some time, and make sure everything is in its place properly. Please consolidate it. Exactly. Tibetan Plateau, Trans-Himalayas, Greater, Lesser Shivaliks, and the faults. We will go with one by one now. We'll start with the Trans-Himalayas and we'll discuss till the Shivaliks. I'll just give you probably 10 seconds of time. Quickly consolidate it.